Every single morning, before the world gets its hands on you, there is a window, quiet, brief, and almost sacred, where you decide what kind of person you're going to be today. Most people waste it. They reach for their phone before they've had a single conscious thought. They flood their mind with noise before they've even looked out the window. And then they wonder why the day feels like it's happening to them rather than for them. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, one of the most powerful men who ever lived, understood this trap completely. He wrote in his private journal, what we now call meditations, that at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, remind yourself that you are rising to do the work of a human being. Not the work of comfort, not the work of avoidance, the work of a human being. That line is nearly 2,000 years old, and it still cuts. Because the battle of the morning isn't really about waking up early, it's about waking up with purpose. It's about refusing to let the first hour of your day be consumed by reflex and reaction. The Stoics believed that how you begin something shapes everything that follows. A ship that leaves port, headed slightly in the wrong direction, will end up in an entirely different ocean. Your morning is that initial heading. Get it wrong consistently, and you'll find yourself far from where you actually wanted to go. Get it right, and you build momentum that compounds across weeks, months, and years. So the question worth sitting with right now is simple. Who is in charge of your morning? You or everything else? Seneca, the Stoic philosopher and statesman who lived during the reign of Nero, was obsessed with one question. How do we stop wasting our lives? He wrote extensively about time, not as a concept, but as the most precious and irreplaceable thing a human being possesses. And his writings on the morning reveal something most of us instinctively resist. He argued that the first act of the day should be a deliberate confrontation with your own mortality, not to depress yourself, but to activate yourself. When you wake up and genuinely reckon with the fact that this day is a gift that could just as easily not have come, something shifts. You stop treating hours like they're infinite. You stop postponing what matters. The Stoic concept of memento mori, remember that you will die, wasn't meant to be morbid decoration. It was a daily cognitive tool, sharpest in the morning, when the mind is fresh and uncluttered. Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing." He was urging his readers to greet each day as if it were their last chance to do something meaningful with it. Now, here is what's important to understand. This practice doesn't make you anxious. Done correctly, it does the opposite. It strips away petty concerns. Suddenly, the frustration you were planning to carry from yesterday loses its weight. The grudge you've been nursing starts to seem absurd. The risk you've been afraid to take looks a lot smaller when you measure it against the alternative of never having taken it at all. Seneca's morning command was simple. Live today like it counts, because it does. Epictetus was born a slave. He had no freedom of movement, no property, no legal rights, and yet he became one of the most influential philosophers in human history, precisely because he mastered something no one could take from him, his own mind. At the very core of his teaching was what scholars call the dichotomy of control, the radical, clarifying idea that everything in life falls into one of two categories: things that are up to you and things that are not. Your opinions, your choices, your values, your responses, these are up to you. The weather, other people's behavior, your reputation, the economy, whether your flight is delayed, these are not up to you. Most of human suffering, Epictetus argued, comes from confusing the two. We exhaust ourselves trying to control things that were never in our hands, and we neglect the one thing that always has been: how we think and how we respond. A powerful morning practice rooted in this teaching is what you might call a sorting ritual. Before the day begins, you mentally scan what lies ahead, the meetings, the tasks, the uncertainties, and you deliberately sort each one. Is this within my control? Then I will act on it with full effort. Is this outside my control? Then I release it. I will not carry it as a burden, because carrying it changes nothing except the quality of my own attention. This sounds almost too simple. It is not simple to execute. It requires discipline. It requires honesty. But practice daily, especially in the quiet of the morning before external demands arrive. This sorting ritual rewires how you move through the world. You stop bracing against life. You start navigating it. Here is a Stoic morning practice that feels almost counterintuitive the first time you encounter it, but becomes indispensable once you understand what it's actually doing. The ancient Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Before your day begins, you spend a few minutes imagining what could go wrong, not catastrophizing, not spiraling into anxiety. You calmly, deliberately picture the obstacles, the frustrations, the setbacks that might appear today. You see them clearly in your mind. And then you decide in advance how you will respond. Marcus Aurelius did this regularly. He wrote in Meditations about expecting to encounter the ungrateful, the arrogant, the dishonest. He didn't write those words out of cynicism. He wrote them as preparation. Because when you have already rehearsed your response to difficulty, difficulty loses its power to destabilize you. Think of it this way. A firefighter doesn't run into a burning building cold without any mental preparation. They train, they rehearse. They have drilled the response so deeply that when the real moment arrives, they don't freeze. They act. The Stoic premeditation practice is mental training for the fires of ordinary life. When your morning meeting goes sideways and you've already imagined it going sideways, you don't react from a place of shock and ego. You respond from a place of preparation and composure. There's another dimension to this practice that's easy to miss. By imagining difficulty before it arrives, you also develop genuine gratitude when it doesn't. If you spend 2 minutes in the morning considering that your health might deteriorate, you walk through the rest of that morning slightly more aware of how remarkable it is to feel well. Premeditation sharpens appreciation. It clears your eyes, pull back far enough, and you see the pattern clearly. The Stoics weren't offering morning routines as productivity hacks or optimization strategies. They were making a deeper claim that the quality of a life is inseparable from the quality of attention brought to each of its days. And the day begins in the morning. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up and immediately perform for the world. He woke up and performed for himself, checking his values, calibrating his mindset, preparing his character. Seneca didn't spend his first hour consuming other people's opinions. He spent it in reflection, in writing, in deliberate thought about what truly mattered. Epictetus, who owned nothing, understood that the morning was when you claimed the only real estate that was ever truly yours, your own mind. These three men lived in different circumstances, different centuries, different social positions, but they shared a conviction that the undisciplined morning is the beginning of an undisciplined life, and the disciplined morning the one begun with intention, with reflection, with honest reckoning, is the foundation of everything worth building. So here is what this actually asks of you. Not perfection, not a rigid schedule that becomes another source of stress. Just this. Before the noise begins, take a few minutes that are genuinely yours. Sit with the fact that this day is finite and worth using well. Sort what is within your control from what is not. Imagine what might challenge you today and decide who you will be when it does. That is the Stoic morning, ancient in origin, immediately practical, and available to you tomorrow, the moment you open your eyes. If this kind of wisdom resonates with you, do something small but meaningful right now, like this video, and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next.